All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of Texans Unfiltered, a Houston football podcast for your Houston Texans. I am Young Ari Gold, and I'm joined once again, and as usual, by my friend and co-host John Wade, the Garnet Texan. John, what's up, bro? We had some preseason football.
We did. We actually get to talk about football this week. I'm excited about that. But the first thing I got to point out is you're wearing an Astros hat again.
Yeah, I liked this color scheme. So I went with the scheme over my Dodgers. Not that I'm a Dodger fan. I like the Astros better. I really liked this hat when I saw it. Took the daughter back to school shopping and was like, "Ooh, I like this." And the Dodger hat they had was cool, but it was all pink with just the white Dodgers logo, and I was like, that won't work."
What hat is that? What version is that? It's like
no
the Mother's Day or like fan weekend, or did you know they like name all of them? Okay, so it's probably like fan weekend or whatnot, or player's choice, whatever they call it.
I don't know.
Okay, I mean it's a nice hat. I like it, and
Yeah,
I mean it's even better that it's an Astros instead of a Dodgers because the Dodgers suck. But
I haven't been wearing fitteds in a while. This is like the first fitted I've bought in like a year. I've been wearing a lot of snaps for a while.
Nice.
But I figured I'd get another fitted. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. All right, there's Paul, a punch and pie. Everybody show up if we have punch and pie. Paul asking Pat, when will the show start? He says this week, and then throws a shot at us. At this rate, it might start before today's. Let's be real, it won't. We are only going on week 3 here, and still no Jair and Pat show. So kind of got.
I'm really excited to hear this show too. Like at this point, like I mean, it keeps getting pushed back, so it better be great. Like it better be polished.
It's like the new Kanye album.
Like
Kanye is supposed to drop 3 weeks ago, and yet here we are. It hasn't dropped yet. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll be the greatest thing that's ever been created. We'll find out. All right, you guys can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Houston FB Pod. You can follow me at Young Ari _Gold. You can follow John A Wade 3. Make sure you guys follow Jair at JRLTU and Patrick Storm. I don't even know what Patrick's.
It's Patrick Storm TU. Anymore.
Is it Patrick? I thought it was the Patrick Storm or something like that.
Did he change it again?
I can never keep up. He's like Puff Daddy. It's Diddy, it's Puff Daddy, it's Mr. Love, whatever else is next. Honestly, I have no idea.
Dude, you're kind of the wrong person to drop shade on somebody changing their Twitter handle.
What?
I mean, granted,
Young Ari Gold,
but it's been 3 different ones. I am Young Ari Gold. You changed it to something else. I can't even remember what it was for a hot minute, and then you added the space. So I mean,
yeah, maybe that's it. It's ego it's all ego driven for me. For Pat, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on.
No, he's still Patrick Storm TU.
Okay, look at him. Here we go. We have football on Saturday, so that was great.
We did. That was fun.
That was fun. Anything new in your life that has happened since we talked last week, outside of Jack coming in here and talking to you during the pod? Anything new? I wanted to do this every week. I wanted to do anything new or great or positive or something awesome that happened to you over the last week.
I started my first day at my new job, so I'm excited about that.
Was that today or yesterday?
That was yesterday. You know what? Starting working remotely though is weird because when you're in the office, they look at you even though they don't have a plan. They're like, "We got to do something with them."
Yeah.
But when you're remote, you just sit there and you wait for the Slack notification because nobody tells you what's going on. So you just sit there and you're like, maybe they'll Slack me. Maybe they remember I'm here. I'm like the new guy, But no, awesome. It's awesome. Getting paid, getting a paycheck again. That's
getting nice. A paycheck. No. Let's actually phrase this properly. So John had a job he did not like in a field that he has done extremely well for a very, very long time. And at his age, it's extremely hard to make a career change and go and do something completely different. It's one of those things that it's just very challenging. There's, you're lacking experience, so therefore it's hard for companies to want to give you the time of day to interview for an actual job that other people do have experience for. So John went to a UX design class and course and boot camp and whatever it may be, all the things that gives him a certification in UX design, and was pushed extremely hard by our own website developer, Cody Alder, who kind of pushed him into Cody's realm, which Cody is a UX designer. And for John, he did that. He quit his job. Now, John has 2 kids and a wife. Now, his wife has a very good job, so it gave them the ability to be able to kind of take the time to do it. But what it was supposed to be 6 months turned into 9 months,
exactly
right?
1 year.
Yeah,
exactly 1 year. It'll be
so it was a year of
1 year
between
paychecks.
6 months of interning, and having to actually learn the job and put experience on his resume. Was told he was only going to get a starting job at around $60K until he got some experience. I'm not going to say your salary, so don't worry, John. I know white people are extremely fragile about how much money they make a year. But got a job that pays him a lot more than what he was supposed to make, and started this week. So for me, I'm shocked and amazed. I'm not shocked because I knew you would, but just it's awesome to see you follow your dreams, follow something that you wanted to do. You now work for the first time at 8 to 5. You get to be a family man, and you get to also have the job that you wanted and a career that you wanted. So I don't think it's an overstatement in congratulating you and talking you up about what you were able to accomplish, because you did that while also having a baby during COVID, during a pandemic. Like, there's like so many different things that you had to so many obstacles you had to get over to be able to have the opportunity that you do. So congratulations, John. I think that's an amazing feat. And this is going to be something you'll be able to tell your kids, like, this is really one of those things where like you can do whatever you want to do.
Nah, dude, I appreciate it. I do want to clear up one thing. It's not really 8 to 5. Do you know what's awesome about remote work?
Well,
show up to your meetings and then just, work whenever you want.
Shh, don't say that.
Dude, like
he doesn't mean what he says. He's new to this. He's never had a job like this. He works extremely hard. He never logs off. He's there from 8 to 5, grinding all day, making sure that you guys get exactly what you pay for. Forget this man. He's been drinking.
No,
he has no
I'm
idea what he's saying. Anyways, let's get on to the podcast, because we are not going to talk about how much we don't work. Okay?
No, I definitely work. But
okay, cool.
The ability to go to like 10 to 4 and then like 8 till like 10 or whatnot, spend time with your kids. I can wake up, get Jack breakfast, go to the gym, take him to school. Like, do you know how cool that is? Like, have breakfast with him, go to the gym, come back, take him to school, take a shower, and then start my day. Hey, that's awesome.
It is. So I've been doing it now for the 3 years. It's awesome until it's not awesome. So like the little things never go away. The kids coming home from school, being able to take them to school, go to lunch with the wife, all of those cool things that come with it. Maybe occasionally breaking off and playing a round of 18 during the workday. Not saying I've done that, but I'm saying that those are things that people do. Or going and buying a project car today when you're supposed to be at work, like things like that. I'm not saying I've done, but people do those things. But eventually it becomes kind of taxing, and you kind of want to change the scenery. It becomes a lot to deal with. Some people thrive in it. I'm ADD. I don't thrive in it. I prefer a stable office, organized area to actually complete what I need to complete. And yeah, I mean, it's cool, but like I was trying to go back to the office for my job. They launched a pilot, and because my job is technically remote even before, I wasn't able to go to the office. And I did the first day, and nobody else showed up. 500 person office. I was the only person that showed up, and I was the person that was not supposed to be able to show up. And then they told me the next day that I'm not able to show up and have an office space anymore. And I'm like, well, guys, how are you supposed to test the pilot if there's nobody here to test the office out? And they're like, too bad. You stay remote. But anyways, yeah, Congrats, John. It's totally awesome to see what you're doing. I'm hoping to experience something very similar here within the next 6 to 8 months. So, all the blessings and praise to your hard work and the effort you applied to it, and it's a dope thing to witness. So congrats.
Thank you, sir. It's definitely been a lot of hard work, but it's awesome. I'm so excited.
Good. All right, we all just pumped up John. We got total a lot of people in the chat, and we only have 2 likes. Kind of disappointing. I don't really understand it. They're free. You guys are here on time and punctual. Okay, that means you like us. If you like us, then you hit the like, right? Like us, like the channel. 2 things go together. 2 + 2 = 4. It's just the way it is. All right, my positive for the week. I went and bought. I found this really good deal on a car. So for anybody that knows me well enough, knows that I've gotten into German cars a lot lately, and I found a 2001 Audi TT that has to have the instrument cluster rebuilt, and it has 46,000 miles, one owner, and I got it for $2,000 today, and it is in mint condition.
Oh, wow.
It is literally, the interior is perfect. The convertible top works perfectly. The cover for the convertible top, when you're driving with the top down, is perfect. The body is in perfect shape. Patrick, unsubscribe. I guarantee you my Audi will smoke whatever you're driving. So $2,000. I bought it. I drove it home, and I look online to see what they're selling for, and there's a 91,000 mile TT that is not in as good a shape as mine, and it's selling for 10 grand.
Oh, wow.
So now I'm contemplating, should I just post it and sell it for 12 grand and make a nice $10,000 profit? Or should I just keep it, and maybe in another 10 years, when it's a 30-year-old car, it'll just be worth even more with all the low mileage. So that's my positive for the week.
That sounds like quite a dilemma.
Yeah.
Are you going to rebuild the instrument panel, or is that something you're going to do?
I'd send it off to get done. I couldn't do that. That's a little bit more. That's a little out of my realm. But it's like $350 to fix it. But what I did do is I bought. You can buy a external instrument cluster. So basically, it plugs into the OBD, and you put it on your you put it on your dash, like those cell phone holders. You like put it on, and you can place your phone on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one has a screen. It was like $50, and it'll show me mileage, is my engine temperature too high or low, gas, all of that, and it was like $50. So
okay, nice.
I don't actually need to, because you don't have to have that for inspection.
Of course not, because Texas. I mean, it's Texas.
Yeah, we don't protect our kids in school, and you don't have to have a working instrument cluster to be able to
drive your car,
to get it inspected and pass regulations.
I love how Pat Storm has led a question. Curious of y'all's thoughts. What are our thoughts?
All right, lay it on us, Pat. Does having a roster full of prove-it deal guys give you an advantage or a disadvantage when it comes to building a roster for the future? Come on, Pat. Do you just tune into us whenever you want, or do you listen to every episode? This puts you in an extremely good position, and we've been calling it the diamond in the rough, right? We've been saying that since free agency, since the draft, since the offseason. You sign all these little guys here and there, and in a rebuild year where you lose your quarterback, there's no better time to do it. You're literally able to potentially find 2 or 3 guys at positions of need that you can build around as you start the rebuild process. So, let's take Desmond King, for example. Desmond King is going to outperform his contract. He technically has already outperformed his contract in previous years where he's been, but health has never been on his side. But as a cornerback, he is he's worth much more than what his contract actually states. So if he could stay healthy this year, and you're able to find a nickel corner that's young, I think he's 26, right? You can sign him to a 4 to 5 year deal next year, when you really are pushing, and you're able to actually start to build those roster spots up, right? So now you're talking about Now you're talking about having another guy that you never thought you'd have. You either thought you're going to have to fill the hole with free agency or fill it with the draft. So that's just one side of the defense, right? If you look at, I'm trying to think like Paul Kruger Hill, right? Linebacker, vet guy, not a vet, but a vet, shown really good speed. You've lacked a coverage linebacker for the last 30 years or since you've been a franchise. You find a guy who has that speed and that ability and that skill. You hit on it. Now you're able to sign him to an extension because you gave him the shot. So you got to think about it like this, right? You gave these guys the shot. You're giving them the playing time and you're putting them in a position to succeed. So as all of the coaches do what they're supposed to do with the players, those players are now not necessarily going to be 100% loyal, but they're going to know that they're going to continue to thrive, which means there's a good chance for another second contract and all these other things. All that stuff starts to play in. So I think it's a huge advantage. And it gives you the opportunity to scout more guys to build around as you go through this rebuild. That's my answer.
Yeah. And it's no fun when I agree with you, but yeah, I mean, at this point, the biggest problem that the Texans had when they were a very top-heavy roster is they did not have all these sort of guys, all these guys that are average to above average, that in the right system they may excel. So this is essentially building that core. You're trying to figure out which one of these guys are going to hit. Maybe a third of them hit. Maybe not. But they're guys that know how to play football in the NFL. They're professionals. They've flashed somewhere at some point. Some of them have had injuries. Some of them have had off years. But essentially it's the model that the Patriots just killed to death. Like they are hammered for death for years and years and years. They didn't have a lot of rookies. They had a lot of veterans that were good at certain things on prove-it deals, essentially. And they were able to stock their core around that. And Caserio, of course, comes from the Patriots. It's the Patriots South, but it's a model that we actually kept talking about Bill O'Brien. We kept hoping he would do. He did half of it. He didn't play rookies, which is the completely wrong way to look at it. You play rookies that can contribute. Even Belichick does that. But Bill O'Brien took some of the – it's like he got the lessons and he got the thoughts from Belichick, but he didn't know how to put it actually into practice. Caserio might. He might be able to actually put it into practice. So I think it's an advantage. It's a good plan. I mean, it's the only plan right now that they can truly go with. I mean, when you look at the draft capital, you looked at the players they could go out there and sign. So, I mean, they did the common sense thing, and they're not going to be the worst team in the NFL. Now, are they going to be? They're going to be annoyingly competitive. Like I have said that for months now. They're not going to be quite bad enough that we're going for the top pick, but they shouldn't be good enough that we're going to the playoffs. So probably like a pick 7 to 10. Like that's where I think we're going to end up.
When I look at the roster and I look at everything that's been done, I think this rebuild is going exactly how you would want it to go. Let's also take into account like the things that have come out with Deshaun over the last week or so: criminal charges, FBI investigation, human trafficking, prostitution. Shout out to Chris Otto, who said literally, that was a very good question, by the way, Patrick, because I don't think people really think about it like that. So it gives a different perspective. You see a lot of vet deals, you see 1-2 year deals, and you think not long-term guys. You think that it's really just like they're fillers. And in some cases that is the case. They are fillers. But you hope to hit on a couple to where they become more than what they actually were signed to be. Anyways, if you look into the rebuild and look at how they're building the team and how Nick is building the team, it's a very smart approach. And if you take into consideration also what is happening with the criminal aspect of Deshaun Watson, let's say that those things are true. Let's say those end up happening, right? And then you have the ability to void a contract and a salary of $37 million a year, which at that point, you're able to sign 2, maybe 3, 2 major guys if you need to in free agency. or you're able to retain guys. Like if you pay attention, I wasn't on this offseason a lot. I think it was on one or two. There's a team in the AFC South that gets a lot of crap for not spending during free agency. And that team is the Indianapolis Colts. They every year for the last 3 years since Chris Ballard has been there, they've had over $100 million to spend on free agency. And if you watch them, even Zach Hicks, whoever is covered, Stephen Holder, all the people that cover the Colts, they all get pissed off. They don't understand why they're not spending in free agency. But it's such a smart approach, right? The draft is there so you have the ability to add players to your roster. When you're operating the way that the Colts and Chris Ballard are operating, it leaves you with the amount of money needed to retain the guys you hit on, right? And they hit on a lot of guys. I mean, a lot of guys. If you look at how they draft, they have a very, very, very skilled team at all the positions you would want to have skilled players at, right? Outside of quarterback. We're about to understand what that means and what that looks like. So, and anybody that says they don't, look at the years before Deshaun. But they're built to be able to retain their top tier talent in drafts, and then they fill holes throughout, free agency, and then they continue to build through the draft, and that's how you build a successful long-term team, is by retaining the talent you draft, the talent that was developed by you, and that's what Chris Ballard is doing and has been doing, and it's such a smart approach, and it's going to pay off long term too.
There's also part of it, though, is right at the beginning, you bring in a lot of guys that underperform somewhere else, and you hope that they hit. And Ballard did that, and Casario's almost mimicking that. You're able to fill a lot of your roster with guys that were not appreciated somewhere else. And there is a lot of turnover. It's just not big turnover, like big name turnover. Like even with the Colts, there's a lot of turnover from year to year, but they don't waste money on second contracts on guys that are barely there. They don't waste money on third contracts. Like think Pierre Desser. Like he was a guy that we all wanted. He was that zone cover. And Indianapolis signed him, even though he played for another team, underperformed for them, had the best 2 years of his career in Indianapolis, and then they didn't re-sign him when he left, and he just fell off a cliff. So it's doing that smart sort of, you spread out, you're going to miss on players, but you get as many players in as you can. You can continuously evaluate them, and it's bottom of the roster, middle of the roster type churn.
Yeah. It's for me, and Chris is 100% right. Like in today's NFL, it's extremely hard to be able to do that. It's really hard. The hard part isn't necessarily developing and retaining. It's sticking to the plan and the process of developing and retaining, and not deterring off that path and continuing down it, right? That's a hard plan to stick with. And then on top of that, also be competitive, right? Like if you look at everything the Colts have been through since Andrew Luck retired, they have it down pat, right? They'll take their risks, their DeForest Buckners, their Carson Wentz's, right? But they're low risk, high reward type of moves. And it's worked for them. If Carson Wentz comes back and ends up being the quarterback in Philly that he was, they won that trade. They won the trade because they solved the biggest need of every NFL team, right? That doesn't have a quarterback. So it's extremely hard to do. It's extremely hard to do and also be competitive. And I know we're not supposed to applaud what the Indianapolis Colts have done, because it's always fuck the Colts, and I get that. But you have to kind of take those, red, white, and blue shaded glasses off and look at the way that the Colts are constructing their team, and it's an extremely smart process.
Yeah, if they don't get blindsided by Andrew Luck, like they went from being the worst team 3 years ago, they were considered had the worst roster in the entire NFL outside Andrew Luck, to flipping it around to now they have probably the best roster short of a quarterback.
Yeah.
So
If they had let's say Deshaun never had any of his issues and Deshaun was a Colt, they're Super Bowl contenders. I mean, if
Yeah,
they had that type of quarterback because of their roster, they are Super Bowl contenders year in, year out.
they're
Ballard's just
Super Bowl
extremely good.
favorites, not
Yep,
just
yep,
contenders, favorites with that roster.
yeah. I don't know where this is coming from because Rick never drafted well outside of the first round. I don't see any Rick Smith and Chris Ballard's path, but sure. All right, let's get to the preseason game. That's why we're all here. We're already 3 days removed, and then we got the Cowboys on Saturday. What if you had one thing to take away from Saturday's game? I already know what you're going to say. That's fine. That's why we are co-hosts, and that's why we do what we do. What is the one positive that you would take away from the preseason game on Saturday?
The Texans look better coached than they did last year already.
What I thought you were going to say.
I mean, but let's be honest, it's true. Like they looked as well coached. The guys that never had a chance to develop all of a sudden look remarkably better. It's one of those things that's absolutely amazing. I mean, but we'll see. I mean, when Bill O'Brien first took the Texans job, that first season, that team actually looked well coached. I don't know what happened to Bill O'Brien. I don't know if he just got spread too thin, if he started just cutting the wrong coaches or whatnot. But even with Bill O'Brien, they did come out very low penalties, very disciplined, other than a couple of certain players. But this team comes out. There's no stars on this team, even if it doesn't really even matter preseason or not preseason, other than Laramie Tunsil. There's really not any stars. But both of the lines played extremely well against a supposedly deep Packers team. They had guys actually like ball hawking, like really getting to the ball every single play. There's a reason why those turnovers kept happening. And I mean, the offense, like, it wasn't a dumpster fire. And first preseason game, it's so easy to overreact. We still got to see more things going on. But short of Jeff Driscoll, who actually, when he was a lead blocker, I mean, he did well as a lead blocker. Don't ask him to throw a football, but if you're just going to throw like the wing tee or something out there, like even your quarterback was blocking well. I mean, how can you not come away from this game just like with just a feeling of optimism?
Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago I told you guys at camp what I saw was a much better coached team with a culture that has drastically changed. And that's what you saw Saturday night. You had let's just start with the D line. D line, you saw an aggressive, active hands, 100% motor the entire time. And those are things that you never saw with Bill O'Brien. And it was spread out throughout the entire field. No matter what side of the ball it was on, you saw effort plays. And effort plays, to me, are what was lacking in the Bill O'Brien era. If we just go back to the D line, we relied solely on J.J. Watt to be able to manufacture a pass rush. Everybody else was just kind of there, and J.J. Watt freestyled and did what he needed to do to be able to gain what he needed. And you had a bunch of guys who were not able to perform because J.J. would sacrifice all the other things. That wouldn't be happening on a Coley coach team. Another thing is that these players like David Coley. Everybody can laugh at the hire of David Coley. You could go to Wikipedia and read his entire, coaching history. You can talk about how he may not deserve to be a head coach. Look, there are plenty of times in all of everybody's job, where somebody was not supposed to get a job and ended up exceeding expectations at a very, very high level. And, I don't know where this leads us. I don't know what to expect from like a playoff standpoint and things of that nature. But I can tell you that this team's going to compete every week. And when you look at the BOB era, there were games where we just didn't compete.
Yeah, there was definitely games where they just rolled over.
They just rolled over.
And I mean, I think that part of that, now that you bring it up, it was just like a kind of a random thought. So I think Bill O'Brien, regardless of his words, actually, I mean, he definitely played favors. I think they picked up on, if you had draft capital, you had draft protection. If you were a star, you had that protection, and which endeared them to some players. But I bet you for a lot of these guys that you build the core of your roster under, the back end of the roster guys, I bet you there was a lot of ill feelings towards that. And right now, I think that the Texans legitimately believe Caserio and Cully when they say it's for competition. And now hopefully they continue to have the follow through with it. But I think they really do treat every single position like it's up for grabs. Like anybody could win in it, anything. And that's how they play. Like these players played for guys that are trying to compete for roster spots, that nothing is a given, to get a chance. Some of them are trying to go out there and get just starters minutes. Like they're trying to elevate their game. And I mean, that honestly looked great. There was no, I mean, talk about the offensive line. We didn't have any of those whiff blocks where somebody gets hurt because the offensive line just had poor effort on a play. Every single play didn't do what?
We could have had one, but yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
Davis Mills could have been dead, but sure.
But for the most part, this was all backup offensive lines for an offensive line that's supposed to be horrible by some measures.
Has been
especially, and has been horrible in the past. And they backups played fine. Like they played competitively, and again, I was blown away because the Packers are supposed to be this super deep team, a team that is built to go to the Super Bowl. And again, preseason work week 1, and you're playing against the backups, but you would have just thought that the Packers had more fight in them than that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think the biggest thing to take away from the game in general, outside of individual performances, is the fact that this team is ready to play. They've used
and they want to play
properly. They got, Coley got destroyed for delaying training camp. And these guys are all, you heard it today from Ross Blacklock. He took a shot at JJ and, the previous regime. You just hear it when these players talk. They love Coley. They love the culture. They love the other coaches. They love Nick. And it was apparent on the field on Saturday. So for me, I thought that was really the biggest thing that anybody should be happy and proud about. So yeah. The other big takeaway for me, should be a surprise, but I really like Davis Mills' game. I do. I like Davis Mills' game. I think there's something there. I'm going to come out and say it now. I think this kid, I don't know if it's, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's Peyton Manning, but I think he's actually an above average quarterback in this league. When you take into account the lack of experience in college, you take away, this being his first preseason game. Here's why I think it. First 2 series, the kid came out and looked like a 3rd round rookie quarterback. Then he came back out, and those 3 passes he had on 3rd down, it was a 3rd and 8, a 3rd and 13, and a 3rd and 10. That your average quarterback doesn't get you out of those types of situations a lot. He did it 3 times, and they were both on the money. That on the throw, that bootleg to the right, throwing while running, if that was just any other receiver other than Anthony Miller. Literally any other receiver on the roster other than Anthony Miller or maybe Kiki.
I mean, here's the thing. Anthony Miller didn't think that he had that good of an arm. You could see him actually step back, slow down and step back, where if he had continued towards the corner, he catches it. Like if he doesn't break stride, Miller catches that ball. Like that was a really well thrown ball. It was an incomplete, but that was on the receiver. That was totally on the receiver. And not even his height. That was just him not giving up on it. So part of it is, I mean, that's more proof that Mills needs reps.
Yeah. And so for me, like, I was happy about the pick. Everybody knows it. I actually almost tweeted out that night that they were going to take Davis Mills, and I was scared people would think that I was trying to like be a source or anything like that. But I expected Davis Mills to be drafted. With everything going on with Deshaun, I expected it. He was the best third-round rookie quarterback that could have been taken. Take away your fandom for whatever team that Trask and Mund played for. Davis Mills has the highest potential out of all three of them. And it's just a lack of experience. But when you see a quarterback get better during a game, a rookie, let alone, that's what you want to see. And a lot of the things he needs to fix are basic stuff. We're not talking about like 5-year vet things that he needs to fix. We're talking about like dump offs, screens.
Which, I mean, let's be honest. We need to see more of Mills. I mean, he needs to play.
For sure.
He needs to play to see if he can. Because let's not forget a lot of those easy things. Some quarterbacks, David or Mallet, never learn how to throw those little touch passes. Like those basic things just escape some guys. And with Mills, maybe. Like they look relatively easy to fix, or they at least look like stuff that is coachable. But there's a reason why he has such a high ceiling. There was a reason why they talked about it. If he stayed in another year and showed progression, that he would have been a potential first-round pick at quarterback. And you could see those glimpses. But the reason why he wasn't a first-round pick, you also saw that too. Because he showed a lot, and then he got crazy inconsistent. So if he plays and he's able to become consistent, then yeah, he can definitely become at least an average. If he stays inconsistent, I still think that he'll, at worst, ends up being a quality backup. So yeah, I mean, he's somebody to be excited to watch, and it will be interested to watch him. But let's not anoint him yet.
Not anointing him. He's going to have a lot. Look, he's going to come out. He could come out Saturday and suck. He could suck if Tyrod got hurt week 1. But what I want to say is, and what I believe is that he has the ability to get better. And that's a trait you look for. You know what he's better at than Deshaun was his rookie year? One trait. It's something I always talk about. I've harped on this. I was hard on Deshaun. People thought I didn't like Deshaun because I said this for 3 years.
Not giving up on a play? Trying to be Superman all the time?
Anticipation.
Oh, anticipation.
Anticipation. He got rid of the ball so quick at times. He was leading his receivers properly. Those are the things that you need to be able to be at the next level type of quarterback. The other stuff you can work on and fix. I'm not saying that we will either, but I liked what I saw from Davis Mills. I also liked what I saw out of Tyrod Taylor for the first series.
Well, I mean, Tyrod showed he's pretty much what he's always been. There was no long passes. He didn't push the ball down the field. But the passes that he can make, he did make. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't expect to see Tyrod. I don't know. I'm not a hater. See, there we go. Jair with the stats, my boy.
You know, Ryan, Patrick Collier actually had it up.
Oh, there he is. Yep.
good. That's good. That's really good.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's 1, 2, 3, throw. 1, 2, 3, throw. 1, 2, 3, throw. There was a couple. It was 1, 2, throw. So again, I know you guys are gonna come at me. He could be Tom Savage for all we think. Who knows?
Savage
But
never had a release like that.
no, never. Deshaun doesn't have a release like that.
No,
So
but that's not his game.
no, it's not.
I mean,
It's not. It's not a lot of people's game.
yeah, and I mean the reasons why that's good. First off, that means he has a short memory. He's not hesitating and he's trusting to play. If their release is that quick, either the only way that it's bad is if he's panicking, but then it's actually usually higher because when you're a panicky quarterback with happy feet, you bounce around, then throw it away. And he's not throwing it away. He bounces back after interceptions. He stayed aggressive, but it's one preseason game.
Yep.
What happens when because he's gonna, this is a guy, like, this isn't to knock him. This is just what we have to see. He's going to end up having multiple games in a row where he throws multiple interceptions. What happens then? If he's able to just continue to shake it off, then yeah, he's going to be a good quarterback. If he's not able to shake it off, you don't know. But he's got to play. Like, we are in 100% agreement. I think he needs to play this year. And I say this with somebody that is impressed by Tyrod, but Tyrod he's the best backup quarterback you could want in the league. He shouldn't be starting. Like, he's not gonna win you any games, but he's not gonna lose you any games either. He is a quarterback that is a perfect reflection of his team. If the team is a solid team with him at quarterback, they're going to continue to be a solid team. He's not going to elevate them. And we got to find out if Mills can be a guy that will elevate his team, if he's going to be essentially another Tyrod that just reflects his team, or if he's going to be a guy that brings the team down.
Yeah. Patrick, his mechanics are almost flawless already. That's not true. The one part of his game that I wouldn't say is flawless, but he looked really good at mechanic wise is his footwork. That was one thing I liked a lot, and that was one of his biggest knocks coming out of the draft was his footwork was not there. But he looked really good in the pocket. So I'll definitely say that. All right, let's get on to the rest.
One more thing about him. One more thing,
good.
and this is more of a positive. How much better did he look than Jordan Love?
A lot better. A lot better.
Yeah. Definitely in agreement.
A lot.
Love has got the extra year in the NFL, the extra year of coaching. You would have never known he was the guy that was supposed to be more experienced.
Extra year behind a.
And he was Love was a first round pick, wasn't he?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. All right. Real quick before we get into the rest of the game, we're gonna do a little contest. So for the podcast listeners, for the YouTube listeners, for anybody else, Periscope, Facebook, however you guys watch, you guys have the opportunity to either take one game and have my 2 tickets to the game, or you can go to a game with me. It'll be your choice. You cannot take the Patriots game and you cannot take the Seattle game. Those are the only thing. But for that to happen, I need to see who has the best iTunes review for our podcast. I want to see the best iTunes review, and the winner will get 2 tickets to a Texans game this season. So iTunes, go to iTunes, write your best 5-star review. We're trying to pump that up because from the algorithm standpoint, when it comes to Apple Podcasts, the more reviews you have, the better you have a chance of being discovered by other, Texans fans and things of that nature. It's kind of a weird way for that to be the case. Can you give the tickets to Jordan? Jordan who? Jordan Texans thoughts? He's not gonna be able to fly down here. He's in Canada. Yeah, if you guys want to go to Apple iTunes, leave your best review, And by the end of the preseason, right before week 1, I'll pick a winner. Have to have at least 20 reviews for that to be the case. I don't know if it's called iTunes. I think it's called Apple Podcasts or something like that. Apple Podcast, iTunes, whatever it may be. Jordan is in jail. What?
He's in Canada. He's just locked down.
Oh, okay, yeah. Spotify, Apple, Google, it doesn't matter. Send all your screenshots, tag me in Twitter, DM, whatever it would be. Apple Podcast, Michael Scott, Apple Podcast. Sorry, not iTunes. Yeah, good thing you have 20 accounts, 100%. All right, let's get into other good things that we liked about this Texans game. You want to lead off and talk about the defenses? I think that's the thing that I think surprised people the most.
Yeah. What do you think about that defensive line rotation? I was actually really, really impressed with. They just kept bringing guys in, and you saw more out of them. And again, desperately needed. Our defensive line has been horrible the past couple of years, short of Charles Omenihu, DJ Reader, and JJ Watt when he was healthy. But to see not one of those, Reader's gone. Omenihu, he didn't even play, did he?
No.
And of course, Watt's gone.
Didn't play either.
Yeah. And just the guys like Ross Blacklock getting some pressure, looking athletic. Jonathan Grenard, talk about a perfectly executed strip sack. Perfectly executed. These were draft picks from last year that never got a chance to even play. Who else am I thinking of that had a really good play? Of course, Roy Lopez got back there, got a sack. I was just, again, completely blown away with the defensive line play. And Martin, he played the entire game.
Yep.
Or not the entire game, but the entire first half. And he looked like a defensive end. He didn't look overpowered. And you would find that out just, you would find that out already. What do you think?
I think I don't really want to like talk about a specific position group or a specific player, because I think the theme of the season will be a different player each week, that is talked about. I don't think there's a real star on this defense. I think it's going to be a team. It's going to be, everybody plays their position, plays their role, and that's how they're going to have an aggressive, fun, defense. So as a whole, I think the defense really outperformed and exceeded expectations. It's going to be a collective group. Exactly, Patrick. Every week. And that's what we saw on Saturday. And I think if that's the case, then I think we're in really good hands. I think the one person that could potentially be a real star for us this year, is probably Justin Reed. Dark horse, maybe Lonnie. Potentially Lonnie. Would love for it to be Lonnie. But outside of that, I think it's going to be a collective effort by everybody. And that's what I saw Saturday. You saw different guys in the D line get after the quarterback, crash the pocket, force errant throws, and get some quarterback pressures. They stopped the run extremely well. Safeties were aggressive, corners looked locked in, linebackers were able to cover. So ultimately, for me, when I look at the defense, I was really surprised by the amount of effort and aggression that they played with. It looked like everybody was playing with the 100% motor. It never ended. It never trailed off at the end of the game or anything like that. And that to me is really the biggest surprise and really the best part about what to expect from this defense.
No, very good point. Why do you think Crossan got traded?
Why do I think Crossan got traded? I think because he's short and we already have enough short corners. And the Giants were willing to give a 6th-round pick, which is what we got 2 years ago for Keon Crossan. What do you think?
Well, no, I'm genuinely kind of curious because I was kind of surprised. He would have been easily our 4th or 5th best corner, right? Like that's what we were thinking. Like coming without seeing any,
4th,
without seeing any of the training camp, without seeing any of the other guys, but just the assumption going into the season is 4th, at worst 5th best corner. I'm not sure who would be the 4th best corner ahead of him, but just going into it. And before first cuts, they trade him for a 6th-round pick.
So does that tell you that maybe they were going to cut him?
Maybe. It looks like they're almost trying to get anything out of him, or Jair steals my thunder, or Artavier Thomas and Tremont Smith. Really, really like exactly where I was going. I've heard they're having great camps. They look like they're having a very solid. I mean, they look solid in the preseason game. Tremont Smith comes down with a amazing interception. Like he got his feet down. Like that would have been a very easy one to step out of bounds, and he got his feet down. So do we think we have good feelings about that, or?
Honestly, I didn't give trading Keon Crossan too much thought. I think they know what they have with Keon Crossan, and I think there's a couple guys that they'd like to see a little bit more of to be able to have an understanding of what this secondary room could look like for the future. You know, you have Roby under contract. You know, hopefully Desmond outperforms his contract and signs an extension. Terrence Mitchell looks like he's going to be a really nice number 2 opposite of Roby. Mm-hmm. And then you have the young guys that are coming up. So I think they really just wanted to see the young guys get a little bit more snaps. And that's honestly all I think it boiled down to.
Okay. I'm just wondering because, again, Keon Crossan, we all expected him number 4, number 5, traded so quickly. So I'm hoping the younger guys are just playing better than what we saw out of Crossan last year.
This is a good shout out by Nikki. I flinch every time King is returning because of low depth on cornerback. Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see a little bit of speed and a little bit of fun on the returns, but I agree, given his injury history, I don't know how many times I actually want to see Desmond King return punts or kickoffs, but he is an athlete. He might be the best athlete in the secondary, to be honest with you. But I agree. I don't want to see him returning any kickoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely electric. But no, I get that. Like, who's going to play slot if he gets hurt?
John Reed. The quarterback that was talked about all of last offseason and we've heard nothing about.
You know, comes in, makes all the tackles in the first game, and then doesn't play again. And I mean, granted, apparently Reed's not had a good camp, but he has shown something. I mean, he's shown something in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would like to see more John Reed. A lot of people think he's going to be cut. But I don't know. I mean, the 3 is set in Roby, Terrence, and Desmond. So, Vernon's probably going to be the 4th or 5th, which, to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of Vernon Hargreaves, just like everybody else. But, I think he's also kind of been put in a bad spot the last 2 years to be able to actually make a name for himself because he's kind of been our number 1 corner and the number 2 corner for a season or 2. And he's just not that guy. But playing as the 4th or 5th corner on the roster, on the depth chart, I think that he might be serviceable in that spot. Because he just won't be getting a ton of playing time.
Yeah, and what they ask him to do would hopefully be completely different than, if he's the number 2. We'll see. Because, I mean, Hargreaves, I mean, he does have the size. Like we've talked about it before. He has all the things you can't coach. But for whatever reason, you can't coach him up.
Yeah, I don't know. What else were your takeaways from the game on Saturday? What do you think about play calling and things of that nature? How How much of a fan were you of the power zone scheme with 3rd and 2 and David Johnson up the middle again? Did you have flashbacks? Did you like grab your beer and just like crush it as hard as you can while watching it?
Who didn't? I mean, at first I'm like excited because we sat there and we actually talked. The best rotation would have Philip Lindsay as the first and second down back, with David Johnson coming in as the third down back, the receiving back out of the backfield, even though he's the bigger guy. And, you know, we're watching it and you think that's what's going to happen. Lindsay's coming in. He's running fairly well. David Johnson's coming in as the third down back. They're not going to run him up the middle. They've learned their lesson. They run him up the fucking middle.
Yeah.
-1. Like, they didn't learn their lesson. Like, but we'll see. Maybe they just needed the preseason to get that out of their system. But as soon as that handoff took place, we all knew what was going to happen. And it's just one of those that I don't have any hair or I pulled it out. Because it's like, seriously, but it's preseason. So it is what it is.
Tim Kelly probably pulled out his cell phone on that play. And he's like, he probably texted Bill, be like, hey, tune in to ABC right now. And then he's like, here's what I'm gonna just trust me. Just turn it on to ABC. I want you to watch. We're on 3rd and 2 right now. Watch the play call I'm about to call.
3rd and 1. 3rd and 1.
No, it was 3rd and 2.
I thought it was 1. It ended up being 3rd and 2 because he lost the yard, or 4th and 2 because he lost the yard on the play.
Maybe
I thought so, because it looked like it was going to be an easy give me first down, and he gets stuffed.
Anyway, so then he's like, all right, like, tune in, Bill. I got something for you. And then like Bill O'Brien like turns on ABC and he's like, all right, I'm ready, TK. And then he hands it off to David Johnson for right up the middle. And Bill O'Brien says, oh man, it didn't work. Keep trying. And Tim Kelly just like blocked him.
TK is like, this one's for you, Bill.
This one's for you, bro. Block.
I mean,
what do you think of the running backs in general, though?
What are they going to do with Scotty Phillips?
He's got to make the team.
How? I mean, make the numbers work. How? Rex Burkhead's apparently going to make the team. They gave him like the veteran rest.
It's got to be as the 4th.
So nobody Howell?
No, nobody.
Then who? Well, I mean, Burkhead plays special teams, so.
Yeah, honestly, but we're all going under the assumption of how Bill O'Brien would do things. Honestly, I don't know. Jair would know more about who would fill that role on special teams than I would. But to be honest with you, I just don't. It's got to be Philip, David, Mark, Scotty. There's just no way you can't keep Scotty on the roster. You can't. He has to be on the roster. I'll tell you this, though. The one thing I did notice was the way that we use Quisenberry at fullback, I think made it extremely difficult for Kahale Warring to make this team.
I definitely agree. And you also noticed that Kahale Warring got 2 balls thrown his way. One was an interception, and one should have been an interception.
Yep.
Makes you kind of think a little bit.
So, if they are, let's say they do carry a fullback, and it is Quisenberry, well, then I would assume the tight end depth chart goes either Akins-Farrow or Farrow-Akins, and then Brevin Jordan and Quisenberry. And it's really hard to run or it's not hard, but you have a better advantage running a power run scheme with a fullback than you do without a fullback. And we're going to. So I would assume Quisenberry makes the team.
And I mean, he didn't look half bad.
No, he didn't. He looked like he could block.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I mean, overall, what'd you think of the run game in general?
I mean, I wasn't overly blown away by it. I think that Scotty Phillips definitely has a place on the team. Like, I tweeted it out, but I forgot to say that it was last year that if it was any other coach than Bill O'Brien, if it was any other coach that actually trusted rookies, Phillips should have had playing time last year.
Yeah.
They were like, he is definitely an NFL back. He's better than some backs that got playing time last year. more electric. And then you continue to see it whenever he does get a chance to actually touch the ball. Buddy Howell actually ended up with 4.8 yards per carry, but he had 8 carries, but he just didn't look as good as Phillips. So that is the tiebreaker in my mind, who's going to be able to do practice squad, but we'll see. However, generally, like play calling, like it seemed better, but was that just the guys we had running because they had more lateral? So we'll see.
Yeah. Overall, I guess, heading into preseason week 2 against the Dallas Cowboys, what is your sentiment on the roster?
They are pretty much where I expected them to be. Like, so many veterans. They should play well right now, especially in the preseason, because they're playing up against guys that have no experience. Like, we don't have a rookie-heavy team. So we should do well in the preseason. That should also carry over into the NFL, into the regular season to an extent against bad teams. Against good teams, though, we don't have difference makers. And there's still no one that jumped out. Again, week 1, preseason, when it looks like our biggest difference maker is going to be Chris Conley. There's some guys that can definitely grow. Nico Collins looks like he's going to be an absolute beast.
Okay, I put the tweet out, but when he was running, did he not remind you of Andre Johnson?
You said this last week, dude.
I know, but yeah, we actually saw it. We actually got to see it on TV.
Yeah, he does have that big
stride,
guy.
That big stride where he's eating up a lot of yards extremely quick, but he's not moving very fast. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. The guy's just a man, dude.
He's gonna be something. But at the same time, Chris Conley went out there and he impressed too. So we've got to see. We still got 2 more preseason games. I think we beat the Jaguars. The Jaguars are still a mess.
I agree.
They are still absolutely a mess. We're not going to be the worst team in the NFL. No. All those people that were saying it, we said that was bullshit from the beginning. We are not going to be the worst team in the NFL.
I agree.
It's not to say that, but I don't think we have enough to take on the bigger teams.
I after this one preseason game, and just from the coaching standpoint, I think I originally said we'd win 4 or 5 games. I think I could see us winning 7 or 8, maybe.
Really? Okay.
There's a lot of winnable games on the schedule.
There is.
If the Colts don't get their shit together at quarterback, that's potentially 2. The Jags are going to be the Jags. I don't think the Jags are going to be good this year in general.
No.
So that's potentially 2. Maybe you split with the Titans, so you're already at 5. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say that if we had Deshaun at quarterback, this team easily makes the playoffs this year. Easily. But for a whole host of reasons, we don't want Deshaun at quarterback. And you just don't know if there's enough. Just don't know if there's quite enough. Oh, we play the Jets too. We have a very favorable schedule. As we should. We only won 4 games last year. But yeah, I'm getting it. It wouldn't surprise me if we end up being a lot closer to 500 than we expected.
Yeah. Well, who are the surprise cuts for you? Who are you expecting to be surprise cuts? Any big names on there?
At this point, I can't even guess.
Is Shaq Lawson playing into the third quarter somewhat of a...
Hey. Yeah, he's not going to get cut. He's getting paid.
Yeah, you think he makes the team?
Oh yeah, he's making the team. Shaq Lawson's definitely making the team. Surprise cuts.
Merck?
I would be impressed if they have enough guts to do it.
Yeah.
I would be absolutely impressed. They don't need Mark out there. They don't. Same with Dunn. Like I can definitely see what G-Rob
Yeah.
4866 is saying. Like if they actually cut David Johnson and Merciless, I'd be beyond impressed by the staff. But you could definitely make a case that neither one of them belong on the team.
I don't think they'll cut DJ though.
Yeah.
Just because of the restructure.
Yeah. It's the same reason with David Johnson. Just the money they already tied up into him.
Yeah. I mean, Merck, that'd be interesting.
I mean, I can pretty confidently say that Collie Warren's gone. He just hasn't shown anything.
Well, today he did, supposedly.
One catch, finally. I mean,
some
yeah.
miraculous, amazing catch that only a water
Which he's
polo
always
can make.
He's had the athletic ability to do, but I don't think that he's shown enough out there that they even have to worry about somebody else picking him up. If he's shown like enough flashes in practice, like they're just going to re-sign him to the squad, to the practice squad. Again, the only player that I'd be worried about getting cut and getting picked up by somebody else at this point is Scotty Phillips. And I mean, there's a couple of guys out there though on the defense that you could see it happen with too, but they're nobody that we're attached to at this point. I think that I would not be surprised after final roster cutdowns is if a lot of former Texans actually get picked up around the league.
Yeah, I think Mark could be cut. I think there might actually be like a whole. This is kind of crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's 10 guys cut on cut down days that we would have, or not 10, maybe 5 guys that we wouldn't have expected because of other guys being cut from other teams that Nick is interested in bringing in.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, Coulter getting cut, that surprised me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. It shouldn't have, but it did. When you stop and you take a look back, it's like, yeah, Isaiah Coulter, he really should have been cut. But at the same time, he was just drafted last year. And so that's one of the things that I think that we're going to have to wrap our head around, where it doesn't look like, I don't know if it's Caserio just doesn't care because it's not his guy, or Caserio is just going to be like, yeah, he's not going to waste the time trying to develop guys. Like if they got to come in and show up.
Chris has a real hate for Roy Lopez.
He does.
He's been on this Roy Lopez stuff for like the last 3 weeks. Y'all go back and watch the game. Roy Lopez didn't do anything. He got pushed around all over the field. His sack was a gift. Interesting. Nick creeps me out, but we finally have an adult in the GM room. He is kind of creepy looking. Ross Blacklock. The Chris Conley thing for me isn't necessarily surprising because if you look at where he was before he went to Jacksonville last year, I mean, in Kansas City, he was in a crowded wide receiver room with a tight end that takes a majority of the shares as well. It was just going to be really hard for Chris Conley to be able to break out and show his potential. And then last year, all he had was Gardner Minshew. So I don't know.
No, I mean, and Conley's flashed before.
Yep.
But as a guy that's as a guy that is a comfortable number 2. Now, with Brandon Cooks, I don't know if Cooks is a strong enough number 1 for Conley to be a quality number 2 from past years. But based on, we'll see. We'll just see. Because you can't, again, first preseason game, it's so easy to overreact. We want to overreact. Like we really do, because this is all that we've seen. We got to make all of our judgments. Well, you've had 1 day of training camp, but this is all that I've seen of half these guys. Because, I mean, a lot of them didn't play in the NFL consistently last year. There's so little coming out of camps. So, yeah, it's incredibly easy for me to make a lot of judgments just based on this one game.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm pretty excited. I
feel watching them, my biggest fear is because there was so much roster turnover with the brand new coaching staff that they were going to be sloppy as hell. And they played clean. If nothing else, they played incredibly clean, incredibly disciplined. people were staying in their positions. They were staying in their coverages. They were setting the edge on the defensive line. There wasn't like gaping holes. So that's something to be positive and optimistic about going forward.
I agree. I think it's just nice to we've kind of pretty much harped on it this entire time, but the just the way that they played, the effort, the things of that nature, like that was just like, I don't know, man. That was really the best thing to see.
Yeah. And rewatch the defense. Every screen, there's 4 or 5 guys whenever the guy gets tackled. There may be 1 or 2 guys that actually make the tackle, but they are swarming to the ball. So again, to feel a lot, especially because we've been so down all offseason. This game gave us something to be optimistic about. And after the past 6 months, we definitely needed it.
Yeah, I would agree. Jair with the great question. Thoughts on Anthony Miller injury and how it affects the depth chart?
Well, Kiki's going to make the team now.
Or unless Erickson.
Kiki looked better than Erickson.
I'm just saying.
I don't know how camp went. And the one thing that does concern me about Kiki is he has similar issues with Mills that he had with Watson, where he would be open or complain about being open and not getting the ball, or when he would get the ball, it would be in the wrong spot. So is that on Kiki or is that on the quarterbacks? Now it's 2 quarterbacks. So
I just wonder, and this is where I was going to go, I just wonder if Erickson makes up for that not keeping Buddy Howell.
Potentially. I mean, I was trying to pay more attention to Erickson, especially after Sarge talked him up. But it seemed like he kind of disappeared out there.
Bring back Chad Hansen, bro. Bring back Chad Hansen.
I mean, Hansen got cut on the first wave, and he's not a slot receiver.
Yeah, I know. I just bring him back anyways.
Move Cooks to the slot. There you go.
It's not a bad idea. You want speed in the slot.
Yeah.
I think so. With Anthony Miller being injured, you have to wonder if maybe it's an IR stash, and then brought back. Week 7, week 6.
They've changed the rule. I don't even remember, but they can bring back as many people as they want. Yeah.
So it's 2, right? You could bring back 2 designated to return on the IR.
Oh, it's as many. It's unlimited now with the IR.
There you go.
Yeah, they've changed the rule. It's unlimited.
That's likely where Anthony Miller's going to go. So that's my thought. Chris Moore was a favorite of David Coley in Baltimore. Yeah, I didn't see. I mean, he got a lot of targets.
He was, and I think that's the entire reason why he was on the field or even on the Texans. But he didn't look good. Moore did not look good at all.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
and we do have to account for Andre Roberts.
Yeah, absolutely. He's making the team. So, yeah I don't know. We'll learn more after Saturday's game against the Cowboys. So, all right. Well, we're an hour and 20 minutes in. Anything else you wanted to cover? Oh, unlimited IR after 3 weeks. Interesting. Okay.
Yep. Let's see.
Anything else?
So wait, unlimited IR after 3 weeks. Does that mean they can come back after 3 weeks? Instead of
I think you can put anybody on IR after week 3, right? Or can only be on IR if they can only be put on IR and come back after being designated on IR for 3 weeks.
It's after 3 weeks. So there's no limit on player returns off the injured reserve lists in 2021. They made it official. Unlimited players can return from the team's injured reserve list in 2021, and they're eligible after missing 3 games rather than 8 weeks.
Okay. So then that's where Anthony Miller will go.
Yep.
My thought. Oh, look, Tobey Maguire showed up. That's nice. Look forward to seeing you in the new Spider-Man, buddy. All right, what else?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Texans Unfiltered. We'll be back next Tuesday to break down the Cowboys game. Keep in mind, go to your favorite podcast platform, leave a review, send me a DM of your reviews, and winner will be selected right before week 1. You guys can choose a game to either go with me or go with John. You can choose whoever you want, and or go with 2 tickets and you guys go have fun. Just can't do the Patriots or the Seahawks. Make sure you guys follow the Houston FB Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you follow all of Texans Unfiltered team members. Me at YoungAri_Gold, John at John A Wade 3. Follow Patrick at Patrick Storm TU and Jair at JRL TU or JRL Sports TU. And I guess with that being said, I'm Young Ari Gold signing off. We'll catch you guys next week.